Toni Braxton? Toni Braxton? I got Toni Braxton. No, Toni Braxton ain't never had your back. I got Toni Braxton. I want to be, because I want it on record. I want it on national television. You want to say I don't have your back? You did it. Hell, Lord, you did not know it.
Toni Braxton has been through heartbreak before, but nothing could have prepared her for this. In a shocking twist that has left the entire internet reeling. Brat just exposed the one secret even the most loyal Braxton fans didn't see coming. Birdman Toni's longtime partner and rumored husband didn't just betray her with one woman. No, according to Brat. He was sleeping with not just one, but multiple Braxton sisters. And the worst part? Everyone around Toni knew. From Tamar's silent stares to Tawanda's slip-ups, the truth was buried deep. Until Brat finally ripped it wide open. Tears, screams, silence. The Braxton legacy may never recover from what's about to be revealed. Because this isn't just a scandal. It's a complete collapse of trust, family, and the illusion of sisterhood. What happened behind closed doors will leave you speechless. And by the end of this, Toni Braxton's tears will make sense. Because the betrayal runs blood deep. Toni Braxton had spent years holding her family together. She was the polished one, the icon, the voice that carried the Braxtons to stardom. She stood tall while the world fell apart around her, always showing grace even when she was drowning. But nothing, not the failed marriages, not the health scares, not even the countless betrayals that came before, could prepare her for the moment. Brat went live and dropped a bombshell that shattered the entire foundation Toni had built her life upon. It wasn't just another cheating rumor. It wasn't tabloid gossip. It was a direct, unapologetic accusation that Birdman, the man Toni had defended, stood beside and nearly married, had not only betrayed her, but done so with her own blood, her sisters. And Brat didn't stutter. She said it loud, clear, and without remorse. Birdman was never just Toni's, he was for all of them. Tamar, Tawanda, maybe even more. The internet imploded. Fans screamed. And Toni. She broke. At first, no one believed it. How could this even be possible? The Braxtons were known for their messy love lives. But this was another level of twisted. Still, Brat came with receipts, or at least enough hints to send social media into a frenzy. She mentioned dates, locations, and one specific incident at a Cash Money Records after-party where Tamar was allegedly seen leaving Birdman's suite at 3 a.m. Toni wasn't even in the city. That one detail alone was enough to set the timeline on fire. People pulled up photos, video clips, and old interviews, dissecting every smirk, every sideways glance between the sisters. Suddenly, things that once seemed innocent took on a sinister tone. That one time Tamar giggled when Birdman walked in the room. That look Tawanda gave Toni during that awkward dinner scene on Braxton Family Values. It was all being rewatched and reanalyzed. The fans turned into detectives, and the evidence was damning. Toni had been silent. Her Instagram hadn't been updated. Her team offered no comment. But insiders close to the family said she was absolutely devastated. One source claimed Toni collapsed in tears when she heard the news. Not because it was brand new information, but because she had suspected something for years and had buried that suspicion deep, hoping it wasn't true. She loved her sisters. She loved Birdman. But love doesn't erase betrayal. And this wasn't just infidelity, it was war. A war between bloodlines. Because what happens when the people you protect the most are the same ones who stab you in the back? What happens when the secret you've been trying to ignore becomes public knowledge? Not through whispers, but through a live broadcast with thousands of people watching. Brat didn't hold back. She claimed Tamar and Birdman had a thing long before Toni and him went public, and even alleged that Tawanda had her own quiet moment with Birdman during a break Toni and Birdman had back in 2016. She said the family knew. That's the part that crushed Toni. Everyone knew. Tracy knew. Trina knew. Even Evelyn, their own mother, had apparently warned Toni once to be careful who you share your heart with, because your family can be the sharpest blade. That warning had come and gone, like so many others. Toni had chosen silence, peace, unity. She'd buried pain to keep the family brand alive. But now, there was no unity left. There was no brand to protect. The veil was off. And the truth was uglier than anyone could have imagined. The fallout was immediate. Tamar posted a string of cryptic tweets saying things like the devil is busy and family isn't always love. But she didn't deny it. That's what fans noticed. No denial, no clarification. Just vague spiritual babble and emotional deflections. Towanda went radio silent, which only fueled speculation. Meanwhile, Trina started liking shady tweets about betrayal and healing. And Evelyn Braxton posted a Bible verse about Judas on her Instagram story. The Braxtons weren't just falling apart, they were imploding in real time. And the internet was watching every second of it, like a car crash you couldn't look away from. Toni's heartbreak wasn't just emotional. It was professional. She had a tour scheduled, appearances lined up, a docuseries in development. But after Brat's revelation, everything went on pause. Her team pulled her from the BAT Awards. She canceled an interview with the Breakfast Club. Sponsors quietly backed out of endorsement deals. Why? Because the media storm was just beginning. Gossip blogs were offering money for exclusive interviews. Paparazzi camped outside Toni's gated neighborhood. And fan pages started posting compilations of Toni's old songs, Love Should Have Brought You Home. Be a man about it. He wasn't man enough, as if they were prophecy. The betrayal had become a playlist. And then came the voicemail. Leaked recording hit the blogs allegedly from Birdman to an unnamed woman. In it, he says, she don't need to know. We ain't mean no harm. It was just what it was. I ain't never loved nobody but her. The voice matched. The message was vague, but not vague enough. Fans were convinced it was real. And if that's true, it meant he was admitting to something. Toni already reeling. Had her team issue a brief statement. Ms. Braxton is taking time for personal healing and asks for privacy. But it was too late. The damage had been done. Birdman had betrayed her. Her sisters had betrayed her. And now the entire world knew it. The pain wasn't just about sex. It was about trust, family, loyalty. Toni had been the one who always defended Tamar when she had a meltdown. She had bailed Towanda out of financial messes. She had paid for their mother's medical bills. She had done everything for her family, even when it meant sacrificing her own peace. And in return, they'd snuck behind her back, slept with her man, lied to her face. And now, while she was breaking down in silence, they were on social media acting like victims. But Toni was no fool. She knew how this industry worked. She knew when to stay silent and when to speak. Because sometimes silence is survival. But when the pain becomes too loud to ignore, even the quietest woman can become the loudest storm. And Toni Braxton. She was about to become a hurricane, while the internet was still picking its jaw up off the floor from Brat's reveal. Toni Braxton was quietly unraveling behind closed doors. Those closest to her said she barely spoke, barely ate. She was replaying every conversation, every moment of hesitation she'd ignored. Every side-eye or awkward silence from her sisters that she had brushed off as nothing. It wasn't nothing. It was everything. Because looking back, the signs were there all along. The way Tamar always giggled when Birdman was around. The way Towanda once changed the subject so fast when someone brought up Toni's engagement. The way Birdman would go quiet the moment Toni asked where he had been. It all made sense now. The betrayal wasn't a single event. It was a slow poisoning. And she had been sipping from the cup with a smile. Birdman, for his part, kept it business as usual. He made an appearance at a nightclub in Atlanta just days after the scandal broke. Taking photos, flexing jewelry, pretending the internet wasn't on fire. He even posted a cryptic caption on Instagram. Loyalty ain't never loud. Fans flooded the comments with snake emojis and questions like, you mean loyalty to which sister? But he didn't respond. He never does. That's the game Birdman plays, silent power. But the silence now wasn't power. It was guilt. Guilt so loud that it echoed in every room Toni sat in. Even in her own home, she felt like an intruder. She couldn't look at family portraits. She couldn't watch old Braxton Family Values episodes. It was all a lie. A big, smiling lie dot. And then came the second leak. This one didn't come from Brat, came from an anonymous source who claimed to have worked on the Braxtons' reality show. They dropped an unaired clip from years ago, Tamar and Birdman in a kitchen after filming Wrapped. The audio wasn't clear, but you could make out enough laughter. Flirting, a whispered, "You know, I missed you," from Birdman, and Tamar replying, "Boy, stop." Not exactly a smoking gun, but enough to reignite the flames. Fans dissected every second of the clip. Some said it was harmless. Others said it was damning. But for Toni, it was just more pain. Because even if nothing physical had happened in that moment, the energy was there. The intimacy. The disrespect Tamar, now under digital fire, tried to deflect. She went live on Instagram, tearfully talking about being misunderstood. About how people love to tear Black women down. About how family fights shouldn't be public. But she still didn't deny the accusation. Not once. She danced around it like a pro. Said she wouldn't feed the narrative. Said she loved her sister. Said she didn't owe strangers clarity. But what about Toni? Did she owe her anything? Fans weren't buying it. The comment weren't buying it. The comment were brutal. If you didn't do it, just say that. Toni deserves better. So you smashed the homie and want to cry now? Tamar ended the live early. It wasn't going the way she thought it would. The damage had already sunk in, and behind the scenes, the Braxton family was splintering. Tawanda, who had gone radio silent, finally posted a quote to her story. "Sometimes silence is loyalty." That cryptic message sent fans into a frenzy. Was she defending Tamar? Was she defending herself? Or was she quietly confirming the entire thing? No one could say for sure. But what did become clear was that the sisters weren't speaking. Toni had stopped answering group texts. Trina had unfollowed Tamar. Evelyn, their mother, posted a prayer for healing and truth and tagged none of her daughters. It was a Cold War and no one was coming out clean. Meanwhile, Brat doubled down. She went on a podcast and said the only reason she spilled the tea was because she was tired of watching Toni be disrespected. She said Toni's always been the queen, the one holding it all together. But they've been playing her like she ain't nothing. I'm not with that. If nobody else gonna protect her, I will. That's when she dropped another bomb. Y'all don't even know the half. There's another name that ain't been said yet. Another man. Another betrayal. But I'ma let Toni tell that one when she ready. The audience gasped. The host choked on their water. The internet went into full meltdown mode. Another man. Now the theories really started flying. Some speculated it was one of Toni's early producers. Others said it could be Babyface. A few even floated the name of a former NBA player she had been linked 2 years ago. But the scariest theory? That DA Brat was hinting at someone currently still in Toni's life. Someone close. Someone trusted. The paranoia was rising. Toni reportedly had to fire 2 staff members after learning they'd leaked private conversations to gossip sites. She was being watched, recorded, exploited, and it was all coming from inside her circle. The betrayal wasn't just from her sisters. It was from everyone, and through it all, she still hadn't spoken. Not a single word. Not a single post. The woman who had given the world her soul and song now had nothing left to say. Or maybe she was just saving it all. Because rumors started swirling that Toni was working on a documentary. Not just a memoir, not just a tell-all, but a raw, unfiltered documentary that would show the world everything. One industry insider claimed she had already started filming interviews. That she was gathering receipts. That she wanted to tell the story in her own words. Not through gossip blogs. Not through leaked footage. Not through live rants. But through something powerful. Something final. That's when Birdman posted again. This time it was just a black screen with white text. It read, "What's done in the dark don't always stay there." No caption. No comments. Just vibes. Chilling, twisted vibes. And fans were convinced it was a threat. A warning. Or maybe even a confession. Either way, the silence from Toni felt heavier than ever. Like the calm before a storm that had been brewing for years. And if what Brat said was true, there really was another betrayal still buried. Then what we'd seen so far was just the surface. The real explosion. It hadn't even happened yet. As the internet continued to spiral with theories, breakdowns and conspiracy threads connecting Birdman to half of the Braxton family tree. Toni Braxton was no longer just a heartbroken woman, she had become a symbol. A symbol of silent strength collapsing under the weight of betrayal. The story wasn't just about one man cheating. It wasn't just about sisters turning on each other. It had evolved into a dark family legacy that exposed everything people thought they knew about the Braxtons and then destroyed it. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, a new video surfaced that sent everything into a full tailspin. A fan account on TikTok uploaded unseen footage from a 2018 backstage moment at a Braxton Family Values taping. The video showed Tamar walking into a dressing room where Birdman was already sitting. The camera angle was shaky, the audio wasn't clear, but what was undeniable was the way Tamar smiled when she saw him. That smile wasn't sister-in-law. That was personal. The footage showed them laughing. Birdman reached out and touched Tamar's shoulder. She leaned in, whispering something, and then she kissed his cheek. It was quick. It was subtle. But it was enough. Enough for fans to say, oh, this wasn't just a one-time mistake. This was a thing. Comments flooded in, dissecting every frame. That ain't how you act with your sisters, man. This explains why Toni was always low-key distant during filming. Tamar was bold with it, huh? It was chaos. Pure, unfiltered chaos. And while Tamar tried to ignore the noise, she couldn't escape it. Every move she made online was under scrutiny. She posted a photo with a Bible verse and people filled the comments with snake emojis. She tweeted about fake friends and spiritual warfare, but nobody was buying the victim act anymore. The streets were loudened, they were turning on her fast. Meanwhile, Trina Braxton unexpectedly entered the chat. She went live on Instagram after having one too many drinks and honey. What she said might have been sloppy, but it was revealing. She didn't name names, but her tone said everything. All I know is, some people ain't got no shame. And just because you family don't mean you loyal. Some folks been crossing lines they ain't got no business near. Fans immediately assumed she was talking about Tamar. Some even speculated she knew more than she was saying. But Trina ended the live with a chilling line. Watch who y'all defend. Because when the truth really comes out, it's gone make this look like child's play. That was enough to send the internet spiraling again. What truth? What more was there to expose? And if this was just the tip of the iceberg, how deep did this scandal go? Enter Evelyn Braxton Mama E herself. The matriarch had stayed mostly quiet, but on a Sunday morning, she posted a video that nearly broke the internet. No makeup, just her and the camera. I raised my daughters to love each other, to protect each other. But you can't force someone to have a heart. Her voice trembled as she spoke. This family has been through a lot, but some things are unforgivable, and some apologies can't fix what's been broken. She didn't mention Birdman. She didn't say Tamar's name, but her tone, her tears, they told the whole story. The Braxton family wasn't just cracking, it was crumbling. Publicly, tragically, and irrevocably. In the days that followed, Toni Braxton made her first post in weeks. No words. Just a photo of herself sitting alone in a dark room, her face turned away from the camera, one hand holding a single white rose. The caption, a broken heart emoji. That was it. No hashtags. No explanation. But everyone knew what it meant. She was in mourning not for a death, but for the trust, the family. The love she had built for decades, now shattered into something unrecognizable. And just hours after that post went up, an anonymous tip was sent to several media outlets. It was a voice recording, grainy but real. A phone call, Tamar's voice laughing, saying she don't even know half of it. And I ain't the only one. The implication. There was more. More men, more betrayal. And more silence. The blogs ran wild. Was this real? Who was she talking to? And what did she mean by, I ain't the only one? Tawanda. Again, Trina. Or someone else entirely? Was this a generational curse or just generational chaos? Fans started going back through old Braxton episodes, rewatching scenes with a new lens. They found moments where Toni looked tense, scenes where Tamar changed the subject, shots of Birdman looking nervous whenever more than one Braxton sister was in the room. Everything that once looked like reality TV fluff now felt like clues, breadcrumbs, warnings that had been there the entire time. But it didn't stop there. A YouTuber who claimed to have access to an insider source posted a bombshell theory that there were NDAs involved. That Toni had discovered something years ago, but instead of blowing it up, she had forced everyone to sign paperwork to keep the peace. But now that Brat opened the floodgates, the documents were useless. The silence had been bought, but it was no longer owned. And now it was a free-for-all. Everyone scrambling to cover their tracks. Everyone trying to get ahead of the narrative. But Toni, she had nothing left to hide. She was done protecting people who had stabbed her in the back. And just when the world thought this couldn't get uglier, a new twist emerged. Birdman's ex, a woman named Shanahu, had once accused him of cheating and emotional manipulation, resurfaced with a Tello interview. She said Birdman had a pattern of turning women against each other, that he liked chaos, that he thrived in it. She claimed he once told her, sisters are easy. They already got tension. All you gotta do is find the crack and break it. The quote alone sent Twitter into meltdown. Fans screamed. Some defended him. Others dragged him. But most were just horrified. Was this all some twisted game to him? We're just horrified. Was this all some twisted game to him? And if it was, how long had he been playing it? Toni Braxton, once the face of soul and elegance, now found herself drowning in betrayal so deep it didn't even feel real. And as the walls closed in, as her family fractured under the weight of secrets, one thing became clear. The Braxtons weren't at war with outsiders. They were at war with each other. And the battlefield wasn't the tabloids, it was their home, their history, their hearts. And somewhere deep in that wreckage, Toni was still standing, scarred, betrayed but far from finished. The Braxton house was once a symbol of unity, power, and sisterhood. But now, behind its once glamorous doors, nothing but tension lived in the walls. Toni Braxton, the heart and crown of the family, was no longer trying to hold it together. She had stopped calling, stopped texting, stopped checking in on her sisters. Whatever bond they had once shared was now broken beyond recognition. The tears Toni had been crying were no longer from confusion, they were from clarity. The kind of clarity that hits hard and leaves nothing standing. Because when a woman as composed as Toni finally allows herself to collapse, it means everything she had been holding back is ready to come out. And according to sources close to her camp, she was about to break her silence in a way that would leave everyone speechless. It started with a sudden studio session booked under a secret name. Then came whispers that Toni had begun working on a new album. She wasn't letting any label execs hear. A deeply personal project. Something raw, stripped, painful. Word got out that the lyrics were some of the darkest she'd ever written. No love songs, no soft ballads. This was vengeance in melody, heartbreak in harmony. And if what insiders were saying was true, she was naming names. No more subliminals. No more pretending. This time the lyrics would cut like glass. And the sisters, they weren't safe from it. Meanwhile, Tamar was spiraling. Unable to control the narrative, she began taking meetings, PR, damage control, even crisis management. One rep advised her to issue a joint statement with Toni. She refused. Said she wasn't about to beg forgiveness for something I didn't do. But the problem was, she still wouldn't say what exactly she hadn't done. Tamar had become her own worst enemy, too proud to admit anything, too exposed to deny everything. Even her closest friends were distancing themselves. One former bestie anonymously told a gossip outlet that Tamar was burning every bridge with that ego. And while Tamar was busy posting selfies and trying to act unbothered, the public had already picked a side. And it wasn't hers. Tawanda, on the other hand, was nowhere to be found. Gone from social media. No appearances. No tweets. It was like she'd vanished. Some thought she was laying low. Others suspected she had gone underground to avoid backlash. But a leaked screenshot of a group chat between producers of Braxton Family Values revealed something chilling. One message read, "Tawanda always said this would explode. She just didn't expect it to be on camera." That text alone fueled 1,000 theories. Had this all been a ticking time bomb? A drama years in the making, buried under NDAs, family dinners, and forced smiles for the sake of ratings. And then came the final twist because, of course, there had to be one. Toni's ex-husband, Kerry Lewis, the man she had loved and lost, suddenly broke his silence in an unexpected podcast appearance. When asked if he had ever witnessed tension between Toni and her sisters regarding Birdman, his answer was a bombshell. "Let's just say I always knew there were things going on that didn't sit right with me. But it wasn't my place to expose it." The host asked him to elaborate. He paused and said, "Sometimes betrayal doesn't come from strangers. It walks in your house, eats your food, smiles in your face." He didn't say names. He didn't have to. The internet knew exactly who he was referring to. The fan base exploded again. Reddit threads went wild. TikTok sleuths began piecing together old tour dates, backstage footage, and old Instagram lives where Tamar appeared in the background of Birdman's posts when Toni wasn't around. A pattern was forming, a timeline. And suddenly, the betrayal felt even more cruel because it wasn't just a one-time fling. It had layers, depth, intention. And as one fan put it on Twitter, "This ain't just messy. This is surgical." Toni's team finally confirmed the rumors of a documentary. It was called Unspoken, and it was set to drop on a major streaming platform. No trailers, no early promo, just a cold announcement, the truth you've been waiting for. Toni speaks. October 18th, the internet broke. Hashtags trended. Tamar reportedly had a meltdown when she heard the news. She posted a furious tweet, quickly deleted, that read, "Oh, so now we turning pain into promo. Okay then." But fans weren't having it. The comments lit up with responses like, "You turned betrayal into brunch. Ma'am, and you should have thought about that before you got too close to the man with your sister's last name." Behind the scenes, DA Brat was doubling down too. She appeared on another podcast and said she had received threatening messages after her reveal. But she wasn't backing down. Toni deserves peace. She deserves to know the truth without the people closest to her twisting it. I ain't scared of none of them. I've been in this industry too long to play nice with liars. That podcast clip went viral in under 2 hours. And guess who reposted it? Toni Braxton. No caption, just a repost. That was all the confirmation fans needed. And finally, after weeks of silence, heartbreak and whispers, Toni appeared on camera, sitting in a chair, minimal makeup. No music, just her and the interviewer. When asked what hurt the most, she didn't even blink. The silence. That's what hurt. Knowing people you love watched you love someone who didn't love you back and said nothing. When asked if she believed Birdman had relationships with her sisters, she gave a long, heavy pause. Then she said, "I don't have to believe it. I know it." The interviewer asked if she'd forgiven them. She smiled, but her eyes didn't. Forgiveness isn't for people who never apologized. And with that, she stood up, walked away from the camera, and left the internet in stunned silence. That interview clip spread faster than any gossip ever could, because it wasn't just drama anymore. It was history, a public unraveling of a legacy family. And the worst part? This wasn't even the end. Because once the documentary aired, the world would hear everything. The receipts, the recordings, the messages, all of it. Toni Braxton was no longer crying. She was no longer broken. She was burning the whole lie down. And from those ashes, only the truth would survive. Whew! If you're still here, then you already know this story isn't just gossip. It's a full-blown legacy meltdown unfolding in real time. The betrayal, the silence, the receipts, all leading to something even bigger. And with Toni Braxton finally speaking out and that documentary looming on the horizon, we're not done yet. Not even close. So if you want to be the first to hear every explosive update, every shocking revelation, and every moment this family thought they could keep hidden, then hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Because when Toni drops the full truth, oh baby, it's going to shake the internet all over again. And trust me, you don't want to miss a single second of it. This isn't just another scandal. This is the collapse of a dynasty. Stay tuned because the truth is no longer a secret. It's a spotlight. #Toni Braxton, #Braxton Drama, and #Braxton Drama.